So let me ask you something, quietly. If you woke up tomorrow with more money, would you finally feel safe, or would your brain rather raise the price of peace again? Welcome to Moments of Money, the YouTube channel that explores the quiet truths behind how we think, feel, and behave with money. There is this thing that no one tells you about, the dangerous belief that keeps people poor when trying to build wealth from the scratch. You check your bank account before making a small purchase like a coffee, not because you're broke, because something in you needs to know the number is still there. You do the math in your head. Rent, food, gas, that one subscription you forgot to cancel, and you tell yourself the same sentence you've told yourself 100 times. I just need to get a little ahead. But ahead keeps moving. It moves every time you open your phone. Every time you see someone your age traveling for expensive vacations. Every time you hear the word inflation. Every time a small emergency becomes a bigger one. And even on the days you technically have enough, you don't feel it. You feel behind. You feel late. You feel like if you relax for 1 second, life will punish you for it. So you don't relax. You just keep going. You wake up already thinking about money. Not in a billionaire way, but in a survival way. You buy the cheaper option, even when it costs you later. You hesitate at the checkout, not because you can't afford it, but because you hate the feeling of not knowing what's coming next. You say, I'm good, when friends invite you out. Then you stay home and scroll and watch people spend money like it's air. You tell yourself you're being responsible, but deep down, you feel small. You feel trapped inside a life where every choice has a price tag attached to it. And the worst part is how repetitive it is. It's the same loop, same stress, same next month will be better. Same quiet promise to yourself that you'll get it together after this one more thing. After this bill, after this season, after this week. But the week becomes months. The months become years. And one day you catch yourself doing something that scares you. You're not even buying things because you want them. You're buying things because you're tired. You're not saving because you don't know how. You're not saving because saving feels pointless when you're convinced it'll never be enough anyway. So you spend just to feel something. Then you regret it. Then you tighten up again. Then you feel deprived. Then you break again. And you start to think the problem is you. Like you're weak. Like you're irresponsible. Like you missed some class everyone else took. But let me tell you something. You did not miss any class. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're living under a belief so common, so accepted, so invisible, most people never question it. And it keeps them poor, not just in money, in peace, in options, in breath. The belief is this: there will never be enough. Not just I don't have enough right now, but enough doesn't exist. It's a small sentence, but it changes everything. Because when you believe there will never be enough, you don't make decisions. You react. You don't plan. You brace. You don't build. You protect. You don't invest. You hoard. Or you sabotage. You live like you're one bad day away from collapse. So your nervous system stays on all the time. And when your nervous system is on, your brain stops thinking long term. It stops seeing opportunity. It stops choosing growth. It chooses relief. Fast relief, cheap relief, temporary relief, the kind that costs you later. And you don't even notice it happening. It looks normal. It looks like being realistic. It looks like being careful. It looks like saying, I can't afford to think about the future right now. So you keep your head down. You do what you have to do. You work. You handle it. You survive. And then you wonder why you still feel behind, even when you make more than you used to, even when you hit goals you once prayed for, because the number isn't the thing chasing you. It's the feeling. Scarcity doesn't leave when your income goes up. Scarcity leaves when your identity changes. And scarcity is a liar. It tells you the world is always about to take something from you. It tells you if you don't grab what you can right now, you'll lose. It tells you other people have more because you have less. It tells you calm is dangerous. It tells you stability is temporary. So you keep living like the floor can drop at any moment. And you don't realize what that does to your future. Because money is not just math. Money is emotion wearing numbers. Money is memory. Money is the story you keep repeating. Maybe you grew up watching bills stack up. Maybe you watched someone you love panic over groceries. Maybe you heard arguments through walls. Maybe you promised yourself you'd never live like that. And now you're an adult and you realize you can make money and still live like that. You can earn more and still feel hunted. You can do better and still feel one step from drowning. Because scarcity isn't a bank balance. It's a lens. And once you put that lens on, everything looks like a threat. Every purchase feels like a mistake. Every opportunity feels risky. Every plan feels fragile. And you start craving comfort. Not because you're undisciplined, because you're exhausted. Exhausted from carrying an invisible weight all day. So at night, you reach for something that makes you feel okay. A little treat, a quick order, a new thing, you deserve it. And you do deserve something. But what you deserve is not another temporary hit. What you deserve is to stop living in financial fear. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Scarcity can make you spend like a rich person and save like a desperate person. You buy status to feel safe. You buy convenience to feel in control. You buy distractions to stop thinking, and then you punish yourself for it. You say you're going to change, but you keep doing the same cycle. Because the villain isn't you. It's not your intelligence. It's not your work ethic. It's not even your income. The villain is comfort. The villain is distraction. The villain is routine. The villain is delay. The villain is tomorrow. Tomorrow is the most expensive word in your life. Tomorrow is how years disappear. Tomorrow is how people stay in jobs they hate. Tomorrow is how they stay in debt they could have escaped. Tomorrow is how they keep their dreams in storage, like old boxes they swear they'll open one day. Tomorrow makes you feel like you're safe, because you're planning to change. But planning without identity is just procrastination wearing clean clothes. And your routine protects itself. Your routine will fight for its life. Because routine doesn't care about your future. Routine cares about staying familiar. Even if familiar is painful. Even if familiar is expensive. Even if familiar is slowly killing your potential. So you stay busy. You stay distracted. You stay entertained. You stay tired. And you call that a life. Then you look up and realize you've been running for years. And you still don't feel secure. Still don't feel free. Still don't feel like you can breathe. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because scarcity doesn't just steal money. It steals your standards. When you believe there will never be enough, you accept less in your relationships. You accept less in your work. You accept less from yourself. You don't set boundaries because you feel guilty. You don't negotiate because you feel replaceable. You don't take the risk because you feel unworthy. You don't learn the skill because you feel late. You don't ask for help because you feel ashamed. You shrink, not all at once, quietly, in daily choices that nobody sees, and you get good at surviving. So good. You forget you were built for more than surviving? But here's the truth. Your problem isn't that you don't want it badly enough. Your problem is that you don't believe you're allowed to have enough. And this is where everything changes. Because the opposite of scarcity is not wealth. The opposite of scarcity is enough. Not the lazy kind of enough. Not the I'll stop trying enough. The honest enough. The grounded enough. The kind of enough that gives your life a finish line. And most people never set one. They set goals. They set wishes. They set fantasies. But they never set a finish line. So they run forever. They chase forever. They upgrade forever. They move the target forever. And then they call it ambition. But it's not ambition when it's fueled by fear. It's hunger without an end. It's thirst with a hole in the cup, and it will drain you. Because if you never define enough, you can make more money and still feel poor. You can hit numbers and still feel empty. You can own things and still feel behind. Enough is not a number that other people can give you. It's a decision you make, a decision that says, I am not going to spend my entire life proving I'm safe. Because that's what scarcity is. A constant attempt to prove safety, through buying, through earning, through comparing, through control. And it never works. Because the proof expires. The moment you feel okay, your brain finds the next threat, the next reason, the next headline, the next person is doing more than you, and you're right back in it. So the real flex, the real power, is not earning more. It's being unshakable. It's being a person who doesn't need to react to every feeling with a purchase. It's being a person who doesn't need to impress to feel valuable. It's being a person who can sit with discomfort without selling your future for relief. That's not motivation. That's identity. That's discipline. And discipline has been misunderstood for so long. People think discipline is punishment. They think it's waking up at insane hours. They think it's suffering. They think it's becoming someone cold, strict, and joyless. But real discipline is none of that. Real discipline is self-respect. It's you telling yourself the truth. It's you keeping promises when nobody claps. It's you choosing your future self over your current mood. It's you saying, I don't do that anymore. Not because you're better than anyone, because you're done paying for temporary comfort with permanent stress. Discipline is not a cage. Discipline is the key. Because every time you don't buy the thing you know you're using to cope, you get stronger. Every time you pause before reacting, you get clearer. Every time you stop yourself from saying, I'll start tomorrow, you become someone you can trust. And when you can trust yourself, money stops feeling like a wild animal you're trying to catch. It starts feeling like a tool you're holding. Scarcity makes you feel powerless. Discipline gives you power back. Not by making you perfect, by making you consistent, by making you honest, by making you someone who doesn't need permission to change. And when you live from enough, you stop confusing wants with emergencies. You stop letting your emotions run your finances. You stop trying to buy a personality. You stop trying to buy confidence. You stop trying to buy peace. Because peace can't be purchased. Peace is practiced. Peace is protected. Peace is built in tiny moments that look boring from the outside. A quiet decision. A closed tab. A no. A pause. A walk instead of an order. A plan you actually respect. Not because it's optimal, because it's aligned, because it's yours. And yes, you can still want more. You can still build. You can still grow. But it comes from a different place now. Not panic. Not comparison. Not fear of falling behind. It comes from intention. It comes from clarity. It comes from someone who knows where the finish line is and doesn't let the world move it for them. Because the world will try, the world will whisper, just a little more, just a newer version, just a bigger one, just this one upgrade, just this one trip, just this one impulse, just this one exception. And exceptions are how habits die, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way, one moment at a time, and you don't even notice until you're back in the same hole, asking the same questions, feeling the same dread, doing the same math, refreshing the same screen, waiting for a number to finally make you feel safe. But safety doesn't come from a number. It comes from being a person who can handle reality without escaping it. It comes from being a person who doesn't need to numb the moment. It comes from being a person who can say, this is uncomfortable, and still choose what's right. That's wealth. Not the flashy kind. The real kind. The kind that lets you sleep. The kind that lets you breathe. The kind that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because you're not for sale anymore. Not to your impulses. Not to your insecurities. Not to the algorithm. Not to the pressure. Not to your past. And it starts with one uncomfortable realization. Maybe the reason you're stuck isn't because you don't have enough money. It's because you don't have an enough. No finish line. No definition. No internal stop sign. So you run. And run. And run. And call it normal. So let me ask you something, quietly. If you woke up tomorrow with more money, would you finally feel safe? Or would your brain just raise the price of peace again? And if that's true, then what are you really chasing? And what would happen if today you chose enough on purpose? Not as a surrender, as a line in the sand, as a new identity, as the moment you stop feeding scarcity with your life, because you can keep living in tomorrow. You can keep refreshing the screen, keep waiting for the day you finally feel okay. Or you can become the kind of person who decides, I'm not doing this anymore. But you already know the hard part. The hard part isn't hearing this. The hard part is what you do the next time you feel that familiar itch. That urge, that panic, that need for relief, that moment when your old self reaches for comfort and your future self is watching. So what happens next? Do you let scarcity choose for you again? Or do you finally choose what enough means and live like you mean it? Welcome to Moments of Money. If this video makes you feel better, kindly hit the subscribe button, like, and share.